they got to my family's mining facility in January 18th, 2018. And from that point, my family had to make the decision to leave the country. And my brother, who was the only one in my family in the country at the time, had to flee that night with his wife and 2 kids, and was only really able to do so because so much of his wealth at that point had already been ported to Bitcoin that he could take with himself through the border. And that gave our family a chance to rebuild outside of Venezuela and the free world.
Value capture has shifted away from layer ones. A new CoinDesk research report reveals that while layer one still holds 90% of market cap, they now capture only 12% of on-chain fees. Explore the structural changes defining 2026, from Bitcoin's post-quantum risks and Ethereum's roll-up economics to the new era of compliant privacy with input-outputs midnight at coindesk.com/research. Hey everyone, you're watching CoinDesk. I'm Jen Sanasi. A massive $60 billion Bitcoin stash. That's the rumor currently swirling around the Venezuelan regime, but our next guest says not so fast. He argues that government corruption and incompetence makes a treasury of that size nearly impossible. Joining us now is Ledn co-founder Mauricio Di Bartolomeo. Hey Mauricio.
Hey Jen, great to see you.
Great to have you here. Venezuela is really all we've been talking about. You were born and raised there. Your own family's mining equipment was seized by the government. That's where I want to start our conversation today. Talk to me about what happened.
So my family started mining Bitcoin back in late 2014, early 2015, and in the middle of hyperinflation and capital controls. And my family back then, along with other people that started mining, found a lifeline in Bitcoin in that they could now find a money that they could earn, an asset that could not be seized, that could not be debased, that could not be devalued. And that became, in many ways, really one of the only viable ways of making money, especially hard money in the country, without relying on or having to work for the regime. The Venezuela's regime basically decapitated private industry and sort of completely dismantled the private productive apparatus. Venezuela had 14,000 private businesses when Chavez took office in '99. Back in 2010, just a short 10 years after that, there were only 4,000 businesses left. 600 of them were owned by the state. So there was a very nearly impossible to make money in Venezuela or to run any type of business that didn't in some way depend on the regime. Bitcoin mining was one of those solutions. And because it was so revolutionary and it was such a great way of making an asset that made you self-sovereign, and you were basically trading nothing but like Venezuelan energy prices and equipment for the best money in existence. And so, not surprisingly, many Venezuelans began mining. So my family, it was my youngest brother who started mining, then my middle brother started mining, then my parents started mining, then my aunts started mining, my cousins started mining. It went viral. Mining in Venezuela went viral. And the golden age for Venezuelan mining was 2015 to 2017. But around 2017, towards the end of 2017, when Maduro was sanctioned and he was unable to raise funds from the bond markets, he was basically unable to conduct oil sales because of a lot of the restrictions. He basically needed to find new ways of making money or giving payouts to his death squads. And he at that time is when he created two very interesting ideas. One of them was creating the Petro, which we all know failed, and it was an attempt of basically getting people from all over the world to trade their Bitcoin for mirrors or useless, worthless Venezuelan assets. And the other one was creating a miner registry for miners to come and register into the country. Maduro knew both of those initiatives would fail spectacularly. But what he did during that time was he created these roadshows throughout the country. And the purpose of these roadshows, I've written about this at length. If you look at the roadshows themselves, they were parades of, really it was like a circus that would move around different cities around the country, showing people in different parts of the country what ASICs looked like, what they sounded like, how much money they made, their heat footprint, their electrical footprint. So he was basically giving a blueprint to his death squads and his cronies to go seize this equipment from innocent miners so that they could start mining themselves. And that's literally what happened. These roadshows were done in December. By January, miners started reporting visits from utility reps. At the beginning, it was people disguised as utility reps or municipal reps. Then those turned out into full-fledged break-ins or basically assaults into the mining facilities, stealing equipment, extorting the miners themselves. And not surprisingly, they got to my family's mining facility in January 18th, 2018. And from that point, my family had to make the decision to leave the country. And my brother, who was the only one in my family in the country at the time, had to flee that night with his wife and 2 kids, and was only really able to do so because so much of his wealth at that point had already been ported to Bitcoin that he could take with himself through the border. And that gave our family a chance to rebuild outside of Venezuela and the free world.
So the Bitcoin from the mining was not seized. It remained with your family members.
Just the equipment.
Just the equipment was seized. All right. Now, of course, you've heard the rumors that have been swirling in the mainstream media and on social media that the Venezuelan government could have tens of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. You've written an op-ed for CoinDesk saying that you think that that is nearly impossible. Talk to us a little bit about why.
Definitely. So when I was reading through these claims, the first thing that stood out to me was just the sheer size of what was being reported. To give people some context, the Venezuelan central bank claims to hold reserves of, I think it's $13 billion in reserves. The Venezuelan central bank. Okay. And these allegations say that apparently Venezuela has $60 billion worth of Bitcoin somewhere. Now, if you peel the layers of the allegations, they'll say that, or they suggest that the source of the Bitcoin is a gold sale from Venezuelan reserves back in 2018 that was allegedly swapped for Bitcoin, that there was oil sales made to the Venezuelan partners in crypto, and some of those Bitcoin are part of that supposed reserve. And the third one is that they claim that Venezuela seized a lot of mining equipment and continued to operate this equipment. Now, there are reports, and I believe that Venezuela did accept crypto for some oil payments. That one's true. I also believe and know that they stole mining equipment because some of that mining equipment was my family's, right? I have no evidence or sources around the alleged gold swap back in 2018. But let me break down why I think all those 3 reasons are very unlikely to be true, okay? The first one starting with the most meaningful one, is this alleged $2.7 billion gold swap sale back in 2018. So the report says or alleges that the mastermind behind this swap and this treasury is a gentleman by the name of Alex Saab. And Alex Saab today is the Minister of Production internally in Venezuela. And he has been a long time key player in the Maduro regime. Why I believe it's unlikely that he carried out this transaction is the fact that the transaction is supposed to have been carried out in 2018. Okay. Alex Saab was actually in US custody from 2020 to 2023. He was released back to Venezuela on December 2023 as part of a prisoner exchange for the Biden administration. At the time of his release, if we go by the numbers, the amount of Bitcoin that he would have controlled at the time, his scheme would have controlled, is in the order of $10 to $20 billion worth of Bitcoin. Now, at the time that he was released, December 2023, the Venezuelan Central Bank reported $9.9 billion worth of assets in its balance sheet. If Alex Saab, a prisoner that was getting released back to Venezuela from America, already in custody, had control of two times the amount of the central bank's reserves at the time that he was being released, I think we would have known. And I think that is inconsistent, or it's very hard to reconcile with the facts that he actually went and got released, being supposedly in control of so much Bitcoin of strategic importance to the Venezuelan nation. So I do not believe this gold sale occurred. There's no on-chain evidence linking to this.
Value capture has shifted away from layer ones. A new CoinDesk research report reveals that while layer one still holds 90% of market cap, they now capture only 12% of on-chain fees. Explore the structural changes defining 2026, from Bitcoin's post-quantum risks and Ethereum's roll-up economics to the new era of compliant privacy with input-outputs midnight at coindesk.com/research. Have you checked for the on-chain evidence?
I have, well, I've spoken to many experts, on-chain experts. I haven't really gone down and run analytics back to 2018 to chase those potential transactions. But the people I've spoken with so far have told me that there is no evidence or suggested suspected transactions that could be linked to this. So I find that very hard to believe. Now on the second allegation, which is the oil sales, okay, Venezuela did sell oil for crypto, and that is reported. That this is out there. This is, I'm going by the reports that are out there today. They did sell Bitcoin for crypto, or sorry, they did sell oil for crypto. But here's where it gets interesting. Venezuela has long had, under the Chavez and Maduro regime, a history of extreme corruption. And there's one particular case of crypto oil sales, corruption case around oil sales in crypto that I want to highlight for the people that may not be familiar with it. Sunacrip, which was the regulator set up by the regime to supposedly oversee the crypto industry, was in charge from 2020 to 2023, working closely with PDVSA, the state-owned oil company, to sell oil in crypto assets. Interestingly, in March 2023, there was a scandal from Sunacrip, this regulator. The regulator was actually probed and shut down by the old regime because it found that high-ranking officials within Sunacrip and within Maduro's regime had been embezzling billions of dollars, basically doing fraudulent sales to the state oil company in order to personally embezzle $17.6 billion worth of crypto. And this extreme corruption makes it nearly impossible for this crypto, for any crypto profits or any excedent above and beyond PDVSA's bare costs of existence would have accrued back to the regime's treasury. This would have been siphoned to the pockets of private crony corrupt officials that were basically managing or running those operations. So I do not believe there's any meaningful Bitcoin remaining from any oil sales that has accrued to the Venezuela Central Bank. And the third piece, which is this stolen mining equipment allegations, okay? Yes, they did steal Bitcoin mining equipment from innocent miners. I know this for a fact because some of that equipment was our equipment. What I will say is that, number one, Venezuela has a horrible track record of operating businesses. They have expropriated over 5,000 businesses, and they've bankrupted nearly every single one of them since 1999. The best example of this is PDVSA, the crown jewel, the state-owned oil company. When Chavez took office, Venezuela produced 3.5 million barrels of oil per day. Today, that production is down to 800,000 barrels of oil per day. This is after inheriting state-of-the-art equipment with the best minds and professionals running this operation. What they did is they failed to invest in upgrades. They failed to invest in maintenance. They fired all the professionals and replaced them with their friends. And this led to the disaster that we're seeing today. So they have a horrible, horrible operating track record from running businesses successfully. And running a mining operation is not as simple as just connecting the computer and getting the Bitcoin. There's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of coordination that they simply just do not have. And the last one that I will say is Venezuela still has rolling blackouts today, programmed rolling blackouts, because the energy grid does not produce enough energy to keep the lights on for the country 24/7. And this leads to both programmed blackouts and sporadic blackouts because the systems just crash. It is very, very difficult to run a large-scale mining operation with that type of energy profile. And the other thing I will add is that these are not pristine, clean, and beautiful data centers like we're used to seeing in US publicly listed miners. These are very harsh conditions on top of very unreliable energy sources. So for all these reasons, I don't believe there's any meaningful amount of Bitcoin remaining from these seized mining operations. And most often, when these equipments were seized, they weren't operated by the regime. They were operated by the crony or corrupt official that seized them as payment. Because Maduro had a lot of people that are his death squads that could not necessarily go on the official government payroll. So he had to continue finding ways of keeping them fed without necessarily getting money from the government to basically pay them out. So he allowed them to go steal this equipment and operate it. And I believe for that reason, very little Bitcoin actually accrued back to the regime.
Mauricio, thank you so much for joining and sharing those 3 points, your opinions on why the Venezuelan government probably does not have tens of billions of Bitcoin in its treasury. For our audience watching, if you want to read more, Mauricio's opinion piece is on CoinDesk.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.